We'd like to get we'd like to get started. I'm going to have Mabel call the roll.
Acadia.
Present by proxy. We'll start over.
Acadia.
Present by proxy.
Andover A.
Absent.
Andover B.
Absent.
Andover E.
Absent.
Andover F.
Present by proxy.
Andover G.
Absent.
Andover H.
Absent.
Andover I.
Present by proxy.
Bedford A.
Present by proxy.
Bedford B.
Absent.
Bedford C.
Present by proxy. Here we go.
Bedford F.
Present by proxy.
Bedford G.
Absent.
Bedford H.
Present by proxy.
Bedford J.
Absent.
Cambridge A.
Present by proxy.
Cambridge C.
Present by proxy.
Cambridge E.
Present by proxy.
Cambridge F.
Absent.
Cambridge H.
Absent.
Cambridge I.
Absent.
Cambridge K.
Present by proxy.
Cambridge L.
Present by proxy.
Cambridge M.
Present by proxy.
Canton Court D.
Present by proxy.
Devonshire.
Present by proxy.
Would you folks on the phone please mute your phones?
Dorchester B.
Present by proxy.
Fairfield A.
Present by proxy.
Fairfield B.
Absent.
Fairfield C.
Present by proxy.
Fairfield D.
No,
D.
he already checked in. Present by proxy. We don't read those.
Fairfield E.
Present by proxy.
Fairfield F.
Absent.
Fairfield G.
Absent.
Fairfield H.
Present by proxy.
Gloucester A.
Present by proxy.
Gloucester C.
Absent. D. Mhm.
Gloucester D.
Present by proxy.
Gloucester F.
Absent.
Gloucester G.
Absent.
Gloucester H.
Absent.
Gloucester J.
Absent. And your name, sir? Oh, I'm sorry, my mistake. Thank you.
Gloucester K.
Present by proxy.
Gloucester L.
Present by proxy.
Gloucester M.
Present by proxy.
Gloucester N.
Present by proxy.
Highgate A.
Present by proxy.
Highgate D,
Absent.
Highgate F,
Present by proxy.
Highgate 2,
Absent.
Highgate 3,
Present by proxy.
Highgate 4,
Present by proxy.
Huntington,
Present by proxy.
Inverness,
Present by proxy.
Knowles 1,
Absent.
Knowles 2,
Absent.
Knowles 3,
Present by proxy.
Lancaster 4,
Absent.
Manchester 1,
Present by proxy.
Manchester 3,
Absent.
Manchester 4,
Present by proxy.
Nantucket 1,
Present by proxy.
Nantucket 3,
Present by proxy.
Nantucket 5,
Present by proxy.
Quail Pass,
Absent.
Radisson 1,
Present by proxy.
Radisson 2,
Present by proxy.
Richmond,
Present by proxy.
Somerset,
Present by proxy.
Southampton 1,
Present by proxy.
Tremont 2,
Present by proxy.
Worlington,
Present by proxy.
Yorkshire.
Present by proxy.
Mr. President, you have a quorum of 85.1% with 88 associations with 4,701 units.
Guys, if you're on the line, please mute your phones. We can all hear your conversations or if you're walking around. Please mute your phones.
Therefore, I call the meeting to order. Please rise for pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag. A couple of housekeeping notes. Welcome to, after a year, our first. Couple of housekeeping notes. Welcome to, after a year, our first public meeting. It's good to see all you folks here. In housekeeping requirements and the requirements of the land trust, unless you are speaking, you are required to wear your mask and
You
so.
have to speak up. Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Okay, you are required to wear your mask unless speaking, and required to retain and maintain the social distancing the way the tables were set up. Therefore, I'll open the meeting up to open forum. If anybody wants to speak, there are mics at both sides. Susan, did you want to speak for open forum?
Yes, I would like to.
There was another gentleman that asked about speaking.
Did anybody else want to speak at open forum?
Can you hear me?
No.
No, turn it on.
Where do I turn it on? There you go. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I would like to use my 3 minutes in open forum today to discuss the election results, which is a listed item on the agenda. As a result, I hope you let me complete my thoughts without interruption. The past president of the Federation and the current president merely caused an illegal election to take place. Their inability to read and understand the bylaws could have resulted in a fraudulent election and a miscarriage of proper representation. When questioned publicly by Mr. Weckmore, it was repeatedly stated by President Davidson that the Federation Legal Counsel had interpreted the bylaws accordingly. I think the membership should be entitled to read a copy of that legal opinion. Given the amount of money that we spent on legal advice, and given the erroneous opinions supplied by counsel, the Federation should demand the termination of current counsel immediately. This is an absolute embarrassment. It is imperative that the newly elected board members take their jobs seriously and become familiar with the bylaws that govern them and this community. Also, I believe it is important that the membership band together now and change the bylaws to allow other issues to be discussed in open forum that are not listed on the printed agenda. Thank you for allowing me to speak. And lastly, why was Mr. David Weckmore's comment omitted from the minutes regarding the bylaws? Thank you. You might want to give an answer to that, to the membership.
In regard to your comment, Mr. Melton, who is our counsel, is sitting. He will validate that over the year, we had numerous conversations regarding the candidates for election. Is that correct, Mr. Melton?
That is correct.
And when the question was raised by an individual during the meeting that the SEC, which is the Special Elections Committee, had certified to the board of who they felt was qualified, and having spoken previously to Mr. Melton, my response was we had talked to Mr. Melton, and he advised us that the candidates were fine. After the question, I went back to Mr. Melton and asked him to do an extensive research into the bylaws regarding the partiality of term and whether two candidates could serve. Mr. Melton advised me, and I advised the entire membership, that after consultation and further investigation by Mr. Melton, that the two candidates had withdrawn their names from the election. There was no misrepresentation. It was checked after the meeting with counsel and asked him to specifically look at those two candidates. We had taken the candidates through the Special Elections Committee, which consisted of Mr. Setzer, Mr. Hahn, and Ms. Kincaid, and took their recommendations after the validation of the candidates. So I hope that answers your question, Susan. We had spoken to Mr. Melton over the past year regarding the elections, and when the specific question was raised on partial term, Mr. Melton was contacted, and within 48 hours had sent me an email that those two candidates would not serve the way the bylaws were written. At the Meet the Candidates forum, a question was raised of whether the candidates for the board would support amending the bylaws, and every single candidate answered in the affirmative. Conversations have been held with Mr. Melton, and he is in the process of writing a change to the bylaws on the election. And that is where it currently stands. And after research, Mr. Melton has made suggestions. I'm not going to speak for Mr. Melton directly, and if anyone has a question for him, Mr. Melton has advised us that under 617, there is no term limit. However, we will retain a term limit, but I am correct, under 617, there is no term limit. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's no term limits under 617, so anyone can serve on the board as long as possible under 617, which is the chapter that governs the federations of not-for-profit. However, your documents were amended, and Jack, I don't know the date, was it 2017? Or recently, your bylaws were amended within the last
2014.
Well, there was the amendment in 2014, and then this provision was specially amended about 2 or 3 years later. And it was either 16 or 17. And when the prior board did that amendment in 16 or 17, they made it so that any candidate that was appointed, whether that even be for one day, that counted as a full term. So from what I understand, in speaking with Jack and the board, is that that was not really something the community is interested in continuing, in that, in other words, if you are appointed for one day, that counts as an entire term. And in your community, you're only entitled to serve on the Federation board for 2 terms. So normally that would be 4 years, but in a situation where somebody is appointed because somebody resigns for health reasons or for whatever reason, your documents were amended to say that even if that person serves for one day, it counts as a full term. And in thinking about that and thinking through it, that seems like a very significant disincentive for people to want to volunteer to be on the board in the event of a resignation. So we're going to try to come up with a provision to correct that, so that we allow people that are appointed not to have that count as a full term. Very similar to how the presidency of the United States works and how you guys are probably accustomed to term limits working. In other words, if you are president, and this has never happened, I guess the last time it could have happened was probably with LBJ, was, he would have been eligible for both serving out John F. Kennedy's term and then 2 additional terms. Under our Constitution, you're allowed 2 additional terms. So what we're going to try to do is mimic the term limits of the Federation to those that are consistent with how the U.S. Elections typically work on both the governor and on the federal level and the presidential level. So, some serious allegations were made in that statement. I was not really following what all those were or the basis of what the incorrect opinion was, but I will tell you that you're welcome to all review your bylaws, and I do think the bylaws clearly state that when they were amended, and this was again, just so everybody is aware, and you probably don't realize all these details, but in 2014, you amended and restated your bylaws. Then, subsequent to that, and in 2016 or 2017, an amendment was made specifically to the provision regarding term limits for board members to expressly state that those that are appointed, even for one day, that counts as a full term. So because of that, 2 of the candidates, and I don't even know if they were running or who they were, that had been appointed and had only been elected one time, were not eligible to serve for a third, or not a third term, but a second full term, which you would be able to in most election situations. So again, that's a bylaw amendment, and that bylaw amendment will be distributed to the membership to look at and approve. It's not something that the board can do by themselves, and it's a membership approval thing. So that's what occurred there. I'm not really sure what was discussed in that statement, but that's the facts and issues that occurred and what your bylaws state.
Could you announce yourself and the association you represent?
James Beck. I'm a new resident, and just for the benefit of anybody else, could you explain the role that the Federation plays in the management of Kings Point?
The Federation of Kings Point has 2 responsibilities. The first responsibility is to negotiate bulk contracts for the 113 members. Although there are 114 associations within Kings Point, only 113 are members. So the first responsibility is to negotiate bulk contracts, of which the memberships vote on, that serve the 113 associations. The second responsibility of the Federation is to oversee the trust, and basically are the stewards. We are responsible for the negotiation of a contract as required in the land trust documents and the land trust loan, to hire a management company to oversee the land trust facilities, which are all the amenities within Kings Point. And and the Federation Board is responsible for the approval of the expenditures of the land trust and the budget for the land trust. That is under the land trust documents. Those are the two main responsibilities of the Federation.
For the benefit of my ignorance, would you explain the land trust and what that actually means?
The land trust is the entity. The land trust is the entity which basically owns the clubhouses, the pools, the pickleball courts, the lawn bowling courts, the additional pool that is out there. So it is basically, if you look at the amenities that are available within Kings Point and the buildings such as 2020, 1902, 1904, those are owned by the land trust through a loan that was renegotiated in 2017 for approximately $60 million. They were originally purchased when the developer wanted to sell them in 2007, and in 2017, that loan was renegotiated. Did I answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Mike Bardell, Oxford 1. I have a little different opinion about the SEC and what the changes were. I was the chairman of the SEC in 2015, I believe. We did try to change the term limits for the membership, or for the board. However, that was resoundingly defeated, that portion. There was another portion of the SEC rules that were changed. That one was, however, not taken up. And I would suggest that the board take a straw poll, rather than spending all the money for the attorney, to make sure that you have the amount of support to pass such a thing before we just waste more money on attorney's fees doing something.
You ready?
Yes.
David Wetmore, Acadia 2, President. I'm not going to rehash everything that's been said, but during the February 19th, I'm the one that raised the concern about two of the candidates, because I had read and I did understand what Article 5, Section 5A said and meant. But nothing is reflected in the minutes that we're going to be asked to approve here in just a few minutes. And there are 3 comments from the floor about other things that are in those minutes, but nothing was put in there about my comments about the certification. These minutes are incomplete and have been arbitrarily modified and should not be approved in the present form.
I will ask Mr. Melton to respond to your question regarding what is supposed to be put into minutes.
So there is no specific requirement on what must be put in minutes legally, except for you need to include an account of what decisions were made at the meeting. However, typically meetings do not, or minute meetings do not include, the various comments that everybody makes and what those are. There's lots of reasons for that. The most significant being the fact that oftentimes you don't want stuff in the minutes that are not necessarily reflective of what the association itself did. Typically, the reason you have minutes that only reflect what actually occurred at the minutes or at the meeting is because all the minutes are is a record of those decisions that were made by the association, so you can go back and look at that. And to the extent there's important information that you need to kind of retain for note purposes, you want to make sure that's in the minutes. But you don't want to include a bunch of extraneous information. I will tell you, as somebody that has litigated many cases where the minutes become an issue in that case, including a bunch of extra information in minutes does not benefit the association in those lawsuits. They're typically used against the association. So, generally the advice that I give any client would be to have those minutes only reflect what actually occurs at the minutes, at the meeting, and do not include extraneous comments or everything that occurs at the meeting. So for example, at today's meeting, I would not recommend that the meeting minutes reflect every comment that is made by every resident or every board member that they're here. It should really only reflect the decisions that were made at the annual meeting, or really any meeting. So I think that's the better way to conduct meeting minutes. I understand that's the practice that is used in the Federation, and I would not recommend the Federation making an exception to its standard practice at the request of a unit owner.
And in addition to add, the meetings are video recorded, and those meetings are placed on channel 732. And if someone wants to watch the entire meeting and see what comments were made and how questions were answered, the minutes do not reflect that. However, the recordings are an actual recording and they are not edited. They are the only time they would be edited if there was something defamatory within those recordings to protect the Federation and the residents of Kings Point from a lawsuit. And I don't recall the last time we had to edit the minutes. Ginger, have we edited the minutes in any time in the last 2 years that you would know?
Off the top of my head, no.
Your answer was, for those of you who could not hear, the answer was no.
So, and that's an important point. Just because something's not included in the minutes does not mean it didn't happen. It just means it's not part of the official record of the association of that meeting. But that does not, I mean, the video is going to exist of it. I'm sure at every meeting there's tons of people that were there. So to the extent something occurs, I mean, it clearly happened. People can testify that it happened. But it's just not the kind of thing that you need to include in the official records of the association. So keep that in mind. Everything that happens at those meetings is recorded and observable. It's just not part of the official record of that meeting.
Now, I would like
I got
all
one
the
more thing.
residents, I would like all the residents to understand that Mr. Melton is a counsel from Bush Ross. Mr. Melton conducted a couple months ago a certification class for all the officers of all the boards. He serves numerous associations. Mr. Melton, on behalf of Bush Ross, also does Zoom meetings and Zoom training courses for certification, which is required for every board officer in the community to have and receive. So when it comes to what should be or shouldn't be included in the meetings, Mr. Melton basically covers that within his training. And therefore, when you're looking for some guidance from Mr. Melton on how to write minutes, he actually trains board people on this particular thing. In fact, he has a session coming up later this month or the beginning of April. Next Wednesday, 31st? Or 31st. Yes, Dave?
I've got one more thing, and I wholeheartedly agree with both of you. Both Jack and Webb, I agree that verbatim should not go in the minutes. However, I just wanted to have it noted that this really happened. I would be satisfied if you put my name in there that I raised a concern about the certification and that concern was answered in the meeting. If you put that in there, I'm happy. You don't have to put anything more in it.
Then Dave, if we do what you are suggesting, we'd have to do it for anybody who said, I want my comments added into the minutes.
But Jack, listen, wait a minute. This is a major point. This is not something that where three people got up and mentioned something is going to happen. And that's what you put in the minutes. And I'm wholeheartedly say that that's something that should happen. But I raised a major point. And
But your
all I'm
point-
asking for is that point be put in
Your point was
the
not during the open forum. The three questions that are listed in there were during the open forum. That's why they are in there. Your point was made somewhere just in the middle of the meeting.
Doesn't matter. It's our meeting. The people are sitting out here. This meeting is for them, the membership, not for the board. And the board does not get to be arbitrary and just throw stuff out because they don't like it.
We did not throw things out. We took the advice and the practice that has always been done of what is included in minutes and what is not included in minutes. You raised the issue to the administrator for the Federation, which is Ma Bell. She responded to you. It was raised to the General Manager of First Service, who oversees the writing of the minutes and the retention with Ma Bell. He responded to you. You have received a response from Mr. Melton that it's not appropriate to put it in there, and I think the conversation basically has been answered. If you want to vote and the members want to turn down the minutes, they can. But the minutes are exactly the same as they've always been written for the last number of years, including when you were on the board.
Well, we did note when people objected to things in the minutes when I was on the board.
Dan Page, Treasurer of Hanover D. If you introduce an amendment, the Federation introduces an amendment, can any other additional amendments been added to that, or does it strictly the amendment that you put in?
If a member would like to, and I'll be more than glad to raise to the board to establish a bylaw amendment committee of which residents could become a part of and should become a part of and do more than just one amendment. But the issue that was raised specifically to the board candidates, including myself, would we amend that particular bylaw and that particular article? And we said yes. But if the members would like a review by a committee appointed by the board and the president at the time, Dan, we'd be more than glad to do it and more than glad to seek input from the residents and get committee members from the residents to do that.
According to the bylaws, if I wish to present an amendment, that I have to get 20% of the unit owners, one person per unit, to sign a petition to get this presented. Is that true, or can I present a petition? I have several areas I want to amend. Is that true that I have to get the 20%?
I would be more than glad. I do not know that directly off the top of my head, but if the residents want a petition to have the bylaws amended, the board would be more than glad to review the petition.
But right in the book it says, I've read that one area it says 15%, on the second area it says 20%. So that means roughly 1,100 units have to petition.
No, that is not true. The true members of the Federation are the 113 associations, not the individual residents.
So let me clarify, because I think I know what you're talking about, sir. Under Article 14 of the Declaration, which talks about amendments to the bylaws, there's 3 ways to amend the bylaws. Or, I'm sorry, not 3 ways to amend the bylaws, 3 ways to present a bylaw amendment. Number 1, that can be presented by the board of directors. So what Jack is saying is that's the easiest way to do it. And what he's saying is if the membership has an interest in amending the bylaws, the board wants to work with the membership to enact those amendments, and we'll go ahead and they'll form a committee to investigate that and see what amendments the membership wants to consider. In addition to the board providing the amendments, there's 2 other ways. Number 1 is by 20% of the members. So that would be the individuals here. So the members are the associations. So it'd be 20% of all 113 associations can ask the membership to vote on an amendment. And then the third way to do it, and again, this is all in Article 14, it's on page 13 of the amended bylaws if anyone wants to look, is 15% of all the owners within the 113 associations can request a bylaw amendment to the Federation bylaws. And again, I'm only talking about the Federation, so just don't apply that to your association or to the master or anything else, but that's the way it works in the Federation. So those are the 3 ways that a bylaw amendment can be proposed. And then once that amendment is proposed, it then has to be voted on by the membership to approve it. So regardless of whether or not the board of directors or 20% of the owners, 20% of the members or 15% of the owners propose it, it still has to be approved by the entire membership.
Does that answer your question, Dan?
Okay, and I have another question. The Federation spent roughly $60,000 to review the mortgage refinancing in 2017. And according to everything that I've read, nothing was done illegally, but ethically it was wrong. What action are you people taking to further pursue this, to do something to correct this problem?
The board will make that determination, and once that determination is made, we presented a presentation on that 2017 loan, and there is current conversations being conducted by legal counsels, which I cannot get into because it's attorney-client privilege, but once a decision is made, it will be taken to the membership.
Thank you.
My name is Tim Porter, Dorchester D, and I would like to address the standing lawsuit between the Master and the Federation. I've read through the lawsuit.
I'm sorry, sir, but that is not on the agenda.
This is open forum.
Open forum is generally to agenda items, but go ahead. I'm not going to shut down a member who wants to ask a question.
Yeah, I'm new here, so I've read through it several times, and I would like the Federation and everybody just to put it to rest.
Well,
Everybody share the information and move on.
That you would have to speak to the Master about. The Federation is named. We can't withdraw.
The Federation employs First Service, correct?
Pardon?
Does the Federation employ First Service?
The membership employ First Service.
Through the Federation. The Federation is the governing body?
The Federation negotiates the contract for the 113 members. First
Right.
Service is here to serve the 113 members.
Right. Is their boss the Federation?
Federation oversees
Okay.
at the direction of the membership.
So I'm just wondering why this information that the Master Association needs to run things is not being shared.
That is an illegal lawsuit, and it is before the courts. I cannot speak to that particular issue. It is
Jack,
before-
well, I can
it is before the
speak a
courts.
little bit.
You can tell me, though, in part of the contract, it calls for a mediation. Was there a mediation handled?
There was a mediation conducted between First Service and the Master Association.
The Federation requested to attend that mediation and was not allowed at the mediation by the Master Association.
So the Federation has no idea the outcome of that mediation.
That is correct. A mediation is confidential and proprietary. And First Service cannot tell us what was conducted in that mediation session, nor can the Master tell you what was conducted in that mediation
I'm
session.
confused to this. The First Service is our employee. How can our employee refuse to tell us what's going on?
You might want to explain.
That makes no
to them.
sense.
Yeah, let me explain this because I think we're getting into some confusion over how a lawsuit works, especially this lawsuit. So, and just so everybody knows, I'm not handling this lawsuit. That's being handled by Insurance Counsel for the Federation. But the Master Association sued the Federation and First Service. They filed lots of counts against First Service regarding various things, and one count against the Federation related to records that the Federation does not own or control. At this point in time, that lawsuit has been dismissed by the court against the Federation. The judge ruled that that was not a proper lawsuit. The Master Association has the option to try to come up with a way to restate the lawsuit, to try to phrase it another way, to potentially continue to sue the lawsuit. But as we sit here right now, unless something was filed between now and when I walked in the meeting, the lawsuit has been dismissed as to the Federation. The Master Association has also sued First Service, and unfortunately there is no way for the Federation or First Service to make the lawsuit go away unless the Master Association dismisses it, or they come to some sort of resolution, or the judge eventually makes a ruling. The simple fact is anyone can sue anyone for anything. And you may not like the fact you're getting sued. I can assure you the Federation, and I can't speak for First Service, but I bet they're not thrilled that the Master Association is engaging in this litigation. But anyone can sue anyone for anything. And there's nothing the defendant can do to prevent them from filing that lawsuit. So it's not like a situation where the Federation or First Service or anybody has the power to make this lawsuit go away. The only entity that controls this lawsuit moving forward and can make this go away at this point in time is the Master Association. So when it comes to the Federation is able to tell First Service what to do, they are not able to do that. First Service is a separate, completely independent company of the Federation that has its, I believe they're a $1 billion corporation with offices all over the United States and in Canada. And the Federation does not have the power to tell that company how to conduct its business or what to do. Unfortunately, the Federation is just kind of forced to deal with the fact that a lawsuit has been filed, just like First Service is forced to deal with that. Now, I can't get into the merits of that lawsuit, but I can discuss kind of generically how the lawsuit process works and how and what's available in the public records for review. So the dismissal of the lawsuit as to the Federation, all that is available in the public records, as is the lawsuit. Which, again, unfortunately, that's a decision that the Master Association made, and the Master Association would be the one that can end that lawsuit.
And just to add, I spoke to the insurance company's counsel yesterday and asked if she had heard from the Master's attorney if they planned on filing a amended lawsuit against the Federation, and she has had no contact from. So right now, the Federation is waiting for the 20 days to pass. If they file within those 20 days, we will address any complaint within that lawsuit against us, and if they don't file in the 20 days, then the Federation is not a part of that lawsuit.
Thank you. It makes no sense.
Many people would have the belief that the lawsuit makes no sense, but I am not a lawyer. Rick, I know you had your hand up.
I'd just like to give you a little bit of history of why we're spending so much time on this business of term limits on the bylaws, since I'm one of the individuals that was affected by it. 2 years ago, or a little over 2 years ago, when a director resigned, I decided to run for the Federation, and or put my name in for that particular position. At that time, I inquired of the people in existence at that point, how does this here bylaw affect me? Because I was not interested in getting involved for something for 2 years and having to leave something in the middle if I was working on something. At that time, I don't know who made the determination or how it was made, but Rick Doswell was the manager at that time. And my understanding was he was looked into, he was asked for advice, and it came back that because it was an appointment and not an election, that I would have the ability to run for 2 more years, and that was fine. And that's why I ran for the board, and I think I served my association as well as I could. There are things that are going on, that have been going on, that I would very much like to complete, but unfortunately will not be able to complete. So new members who will be coming on the board will be involved in making certain decisions that might be without the complete basis of what happened. So I just wanted to say, unfortunately, it was this rule was misinterpreted 2.5 years ago, and therefore it's been brought to light now. I was a federal investigator for the government for many years. Laws are laws, bylaws are bylaws, and I will live by the bylaws and hope that it can be changed so that this community can be properly represented and not cut off in midstream on things, on businesses that's important to the community. Thank you.
Jill?
Jill Clays, Highgate C. The one explanation that was provided that has not been addressed, in my opinion, by the Federation is the fact that there are 10 presidents that submitted letters to First Service. And it seems to me when you're saying that there's ways for this lawsuit to go away, it's as it relates to what's been publicly delivered to us, it would appear to me that perhaps another easy way for it to go away is those 10 residents withdrawing your letters.
Well, let me answer that for you, Jill, because although my letter was not included within the lawsuit, I sought for my association, of which I am president, a question of who owned the title of those properties. Section 718 of the state statute says, when a developer turns over self-control to the association, they turn over and give to that association the titles to the properties. In this community, it is the association that bills, it is the association that assesses, it is the association basically that put liens on residents' property. The only time a resident is truly a member is of the association itself. So therefore, I submitted a letter as president of Tremont One to the Master and First Service that said, I have a fiduciary responsibility as a president of Tremont One to not have my records shared with another entity. So other presidents took their legal opinion and wrote letters to the Master advising them the same thing. As a president of association, you have a fiduciary responsibility to protect your residents' information and protect your records. And it is not a matter of whether I sent a record or I sent a letter or 10 other presidents sent a letter. It is what and who really owns the records that the Master is speaking of. And, you know, I can ask Mr. Melton for his legal opinion of who owns those records. The Master is seeking a records that I believe, as president of my association, belong to my association. Those records are available at the county if the Master wants copies of them. The Master does not have a relationship with the individual residents. The associations do. All 114 associations. Not the Master, not the Federation. There are only specific incidences where the individual residents in this community have a right to speak. One of them is in the voting for the directors. The other is if we buy property, the individual members would have to be consulted. But your association is the one who has control over them.
Point of order, please. We are off the agenda items.
But I
understand that.
I have no problem, but if you want me to shut the meeting down, I will, but I was trying to answer Jill her question.
I understand that, but we can continue on forever and there's business.
Thank you for your time.
Are there any other questions? And we will proceed with the agenda, and that is the approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Can I have a second? We have a second. You want to take a vote on that?
Acadia,
Yes by proxy?
Acadia 2,
No.
Andover C, Andover D, Andover F. Are you got your proxy?
Yes by proxy?
You can change it. You can change it.
Andover I,
Yes by proxy?
Excuse me, point of order, you will have to withdraw.
is proxy.
Okay. Can we do that at the end?
You can't, if he's going to.
Take it out for all of them?
He has to withdraw his proxy.
Okay.
F. Andover F, you need to give us a minute. We need to find your proxy.
Are you withdrawing your proxy?
Mr. Allen?
I'm sorry.
You need to take your proxy, please.
Take it, please.
Other president, we can do it.
Are you Andover F?
Diana Allison,
Diana Allison?
is that the president? Yeah, the president turns in the proxy.
And who are you? Vice President. You allowed your
The president turned in the proxy, sir?
So the vice president's trying to vote opposite of the president?
Yes.
I'll have to look that up, sir, because that's a conflict between, internal conflict. Your president typically, the president typically has the right to vote. Now you're stating that you're going to vote for your community different than the president is voting. So I have to look to see if you have the ability to override the president's decision, which reflects that of the community.
Hold on, okay. We're Andover F.
And yes by proxy. Yes by proxy. Andover 1.
Andover I.
Yes by proxy.
Bedford A.
Yes by proxy.
Bedford C.
Yes by proxy.
Bedford D. Bedford E. Bedford F.
Yes by proxy.
Bedford H.
Yes by proxy.
Brookfield.
No.
Cambridge A.
Yes by proxy.
Cambridge B.
Yes.
Cambridge C.
Yes by proxy.
Cambridge E.
Yes by proxy.
Cambridge J.
Yes.
You said yes?
Mhm.
Thank you. Sorry, I can't hear you. Sorry. Cambridge K.
Yes by proxy.
Cambridge L.
Yes by proxy.
Cambridge M.
Yes by proxy.
Canton Court D.
Yes by proxy.
Corinth.
No.
Devonshire.
Yes by proxy.
Dorchester A.
No.
Dorchester B.
Yes by proxy.
Dorchester C.
Yes.
Dorchester D.
No confidence.
Yes or no, sir?
No.
Thank you. Edinburgh.
Yes.
Fairborn.
No.
Fairfield A.
Yes by proxy.
Fairfield C.
Yes by proxy.
Fairfield D,
Yes by proxy.
Fairfield E,
Yes by proxy.
Fairfield H,
Yes by proxy.
Gloucester A,
Yes by proxy.
Gloucester B,
Yes by proxy.
Gloucester D,
Yes by proxy.
Gloucester E,
Yes by proxy.
Gloucester J.
Yes.
D, E? Did you do E?
Yes, yes.
Did we say it?
Yeah, proxies.
Yes by proxy, okay.
So Gloucester J is yes.
Yes, okay.
Gloucester K,
Yes by proxy.
Gloucester L,
Yes by proxy.
Gloucester M,
Yes by proxy.
Gloucester N,
Yes by proxy.
Gloucester P.
Yes.
Grantham,
No.
Highgate A,
Yes by proxy.
Highgate B,
Yes.
Highgate C,
Yes.
Highgate E,
Yes.
Highgate F,
Yes by proxy.
Highgate 3,
Yes by proxy.
Highgate 4,
Yes by proxy.
Huntington,
Yes by proxy.
Idlewood,
Yes by proxy.
Inverness,
Yes by proxy.
Jameson,
No.
Kensington,
No.
Knowles 3,
Yes by proxy.
Lancaster 1,
Yes.
Lancaster 2,
Yes.
Lancaster 3,
Yes.
Lyndhurst,
Yes.
Manchester 1,
Yes by proxy.
Manchester 2,
No.
Manchester 4,
Yes by proxy.
Maplewood,
Yes by proxy.
Nantucket 1,
Yes by proxy.
Nantucket 2,
No.
Nantucket 3,
Yes by proxy.
Nantucket 4,
No.
Nantucket 5,
No by proxy.
Oakley Green,
No.
Oxford 1,
No.
Oxford 2,
Yes.
Portsmouth.
No.
You said no?
Yes.
Okay.
Said no.
Sorry. Princeton,
Yes.
Radisson 1,
Yes by proxy.
Radisson 2,
Yes by proxy.
Richmond,
Yes by proxy.
Somerset,
Yes by proxy.
Southampton 1,
Yes by proxy.
Southampton 2,
Yes.
Tremont 1,
Yes by proxy.
Tremont 2,
Yes by proxy.
Villeroy,
Yes by proxy.
Worlington,
Yes by proxy.
Yorkshire.
Yes by proxy.
Mr. President, for the minutes for February 19, 2021, you have a yes of 3,488 with 74.6%, with 70 association, with a no of 1,189 with 25.4%, with 17 association.
Just to clarify, for the gentleman that voted, and I'm sorry, I don't know where they are, but for the gentleman that voted.
Directly in front of you.
Okay, for that individual, the documents allow the president to make that vote. However, if you have been authorized by the community, by the board directors to act in their capacity, that's something that you would have done internally with your own board, you are able to cast that vote. So you just need to provide documentation to the Federation showing that your board vested you with the authority to supersede the vote of the president today.
Okay, we will continue on with the meeting. You would have to leave it.
We can count it today as well, what we'll do is, for right now, just count it as a yes vote. And then the gentleman, I don't want to interrupt the meeting, but he can provide whatever documentation he has after the meeting. And then we can always change it to reflect what the total outcome is in the minutes, whatever it may be. It's not going to change the outcome, so we can move on at this point in time.
Okay, we're going to continue on to the manager's report. Before we do the manager's report, Tom Murphy, are you still here? Oh, there you are. Tom wanted to speak as the chairman and head of the Spectrum contract. And Tom, if you want to go over to one of those mics, I'd appreciate it. And as a committee member, basically the only committee member on the Spectrum group.
Good morning, and for some of the people that don't know me, I'm Tom Murphy, President, Lancaster 3. I've been lucky enough to serve in the capacity on the RFBC, the Rules Committee, and 4 years on the Federation, and then lucky enough to be one of the people that negotiated the Spectrum contract. People have asked, and I field a lot of questions, and I purposely did that, so people would get more of an on-hands idea of what was happening with their system going forward with Spectrum. Right now, people ask me all the time, do we have 200 speed megabytes per second? The answer is yes. And I've been working with Keith, and I've been working with our contract bulk administration people. And what I reported last December is that I was hoping it was going to go through seamlessly. Well, shame on me. Nothing goes seamlessly in this world. But because I called myself about 2 weeks ago, because I knew it's available, okay, because I had talked to the bulk administrator. And I was able, within 10 minutes, to get my speed from, at that point, 27.54. That was a Wi-Fi download speed, up to 200 plus Wi-Fi speed. So it is available. So what I wanted to do is pass that along to Keith, because as our contract administrator, he's the one that has to go back to Spectrum and say, you know, what do we need? What do we got to do? Okay, and they gave him a runaround. Not surprising, okay, because our regular bulk person was not available that week. Since then, he's talked to, you know, Spectrum directly, and they've kicked it up their food chain, because Spectrum told me, we do not want 6,000 people of Kings Point calling us. We'll tie our lines up forever, and for our limited personnel that's working, you know, it'll just never get done. So Keith is pursuing that, okay, that it is coming. Now, people call me day and night, can I get mine upgraded right away? I'm in a hurry. The answer is yes. How do you do it? Well, you can call Spectrum, tell them you're on the bulk contract, all right? Now, what you're not looking for is a change of service. You're looking for an increase of speed on your service. It is available, they have to look it up. Now, the sad thing is that as seniors, they want you to get down on the floor, look at your serial numbers, look at your map numbers on your computers. A lot of people can't do that. They don't know what they're looking for. So that's the shame of it all. But corporate, all right, can dictate to them what they need to do. They can do it all with their computers. I know all your numbers, all of them are registered. That's why they did it, about 3 years ago. They wanted to make it so, every box had a registered owner. So they know your numbers. It's really seamless for them to go through and do it for everybody, but there's still a mix-up. We're not changing any part of the contract. Our contract says 100 speed. What they agreed to do at the time of negotiations is bump it up to 200 speed when it became available. It is now available. So that's an increase of speed at no cost to Kings Point residents. So I can't promise what day it's going to happen. I know that Keith's on top of it as your administrator of this contract, and as the liaison between Kings Point and Spectrum, I try to do is field all the big problems, not the equipment problems, but more or less the other type of problems that occur between Kings Point and Spectrum. So it is available. People that want it and know a little bit about the computers, you can call, give them all your numbers, they can do it for you. But the people that don't mind waiting a little bit while longer, it is coming. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Tom, and I just wanted to express the community the appreciation for all the work you do, for all the issues that may arise between us and Spectrum for that contract. I know you take a lot upon yourself in doing it, and thank you very much for volunteering to run that. So thank you very much, Tom.
You're welcome.
I want to add something to his statement.
Oxford 2, Del Dewar. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, I had to get new equipment, and with that I got a new modem, and I was told by the tech that my speed is now 210. So I just wanted to add that.
Yes, any new customer that comes in or changes their equipment, automatically it goes up to the new speed. So if you're just new moving into Kings Point and they put a new modem in your house, it will be at the new speed, so you're already set.
Dan, it's not an answering question, it's a report. There is no question answer, period. I'll turn the meeting over to Keith from First Service, Keith Wilkins, who is the general manager. Although he's been on property for quite some time, this is his first in-person meeting, so...
It is.
Welcome to the fun.
I was excited for today, and it is my first in-person meeting. I've almost been here for a year, so it is nice to be face-to-face with everybody for the membership meetings. Just to quickly piggyback off what Mr. Murphy said about Spectrum, you did have a speed lift for the area, so that's what he was referencing. So if you do happen to call in, give them, you have a bulk contract, your unit address, and let them know that you had a speed lift in your area, and they'll be able to check your modem and bump it up right there. If your equipment is not able to handle that, they're gonna send you new equipment. So that's kind of the call-in method, which we're trying to avoid. So once I get back with Pamela from Spectrum, we'll e-blast out the plan of attack that they've agreed to. So hopefully they can go in themselves internally, and Spectrum can, and just bump those up all of a sudden, and we just let everybody enjoy the new speed. So this is the First Service Residential Management Report. Again, just quickly, financials. Debbie Lauber does a great job getting all your financials done in a timely manner and as quickly as possible, no later than the 21st of each month. Couple, again, operations under COVID protocol. You know, our front lobby is open and available for anybody to come in to drop stuff off. We do have a couple procedures still in place with mask wearing and hand sanitizing. We also have a brand new drop box out front of the building, just right off the parking lot. We just had some nice new signs installed by Vesta. So it kind of lays out what you can put in there and everything like that. So if you have correspondences, alteration forms, proxies, whatever it might be, go ahead and feel free to utilize that drop box if you want to avoid walking into the office. Again, you can call at any time. This line to schedule pest control appointments or get with your CAM. So please utilize the resources available. Couple administration key points here. As you can see, the transfers for the month of February have gone up to 74, so we're starting to see a lot of new homeowners come in, so it is a good sign for the marketplace and for the community. We did 33 leases, we took about 3,500 phone calls, we scheduled 400 pest control appointments, we did about 94 alterations for the unit owners, issued 32 violations, and drew up 15 new contracts. So again, just some stats for the inner office. A little bit cut off, but annual meetings. Thank you again for everybody that participated in the annual meetings. I know it was a little bit different this year. We appreciate everybody's patience and working through that. And again, since Webb's here, we appreciate him doing the board certification classes for the members and the new board members, and also having the virtual classes available. Nice to have options to get certified. Budgets. Again, budgets are all completed. All of your homeowners, if they are receiving a coupon book, should have received their new coupon book for April 1st. If they are on what's called ClickPay or ACH, they should have received a one-page letter that advising them that it will be the adjusted amount, if it changed at all for your association, would come out April 1st on that new figure. So all that has been changed. Coupon books should be received. If you don't, hopefully let us know. We can see what's going on with that. I know the mail has been troublesome as of late still for Sun City. Insurance. We're working on sending out a budget summary on the insurance. There's a couple changes this year and will be approved at the April 9th special membership meeting. So in conjunction with that, we're going to send out to each board president a budget summary of what was the projected cost on all the budget policies for the insurance, and as well as just kind of showing some of the new savings, the offsetting savings with the Browns Tree contract that's taking effect. So we'll send that out by the end of March to every board member, and they'll be able to review that kind of summary sheet. So. Again, real quickly, trash collection. If you have a dumpster in your neighborhood and it's not in great shape, or there's a problem going on or leakage, let us know. We can get right a hold of Waste Connections and get those swapped out. If you need additional recycling bins too, we can get those on hand. So don't be afraid to hesitate to call your CAM. We'll get that swapped out as soon as we can. Landscaping. Landscaping, today is the review and hopefully the approval of the 2 landscaping contracts with Section 2 and Section 4 with Down to Earth. I think there's a lot of good information in those contracts, a lot of reworking to make it more protection for the associations and for the federation. So I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. Hopefully we can get any other questions answered before that vote comes along. And I think Mr. Dave McGraw is going to be giving a presentation on that. Mulch as well. Mulch is going to be coming right back around the corner. We did take a survey from the community and gathered the results with the landscaping committee, and we'll have something ready for the board shortly on the plan of attack for the new mulching plan. A lot of people still want to do the bagged mulch, varying colors. So we'll have some new information coming on that, and hopefully it will encompass everybody's desires for mulch. And we'll have some competitive bids again for mulching the community. Again, work orders for the landscaping for the month of February, we're down to just 9. So again, please utilize that work order system, or let Ryan know. He's always looking for those work orders and to get after the landscapers. And lastly, emergency contact form. This is always very important. We always try to stress it. If you have any owners that need to update their information, we strongly encourage that. It's the best way for you or us to get a hold of them in the event of emergency. A lot of people change their emails and phone numbers and often don't let anybody know, so it's always problematic. And lastly, always remember the after-hours emergency number, the 813-642-8990. Call that at any time. If it's after hours, they'll get you right a hold of our call center, and they'll get a hold of me, and we'll help you out with whatever is going on, whatever emergency you're having. And again, that's always available. Again, when you call into the First Service office, if the line's busy, you'll roll over to our customer care. So somebody should always be able to get a hold of you, or get a hold of us, and let us know what's going on. That's all I have. Any questions?
We all got to now hear Keith do a presentation actually in person for a change. Ginger, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you for a report on the Vesta and the Land Trust.
Because the fun has arrived,
And
right? He did a good job for his first meeting.
I would just like to make one thing clear as Ginger goes over these figures and she is showing, or if she does show dollars and stuff, remember, this is not Vesta money. This is our money. When you go to the South Club and you buy dinner, those proceeds belong to us. They belong to the Land Trust. They do not belong to Vesta. Vesta manages it. They have a contract to manage these facilities. But all the revenue that is obtained, whether it's through the spa or whether it's through Palm Court or when La Perque opens back up or shows or anything such as that, that money goes back to the community and back to the Land Trust and is used towards the administration of the Land Trust. So just keep that in mind when you see these figures. I know on Nextdoor people go, well, Vesta's doing this so they can make more money. Vesta doesn't make a dime. It is our own money. So when you buy dinners and stuff and you frequent Palm Court or the bar down there, it's basically money that you're putting back into the community's pocket. And with that, Ginger, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Jack asked me to move along here so that I won't read all the numbers to you, but you can see your clubhouse usage for February. We had over 22,000 visits, and here's the Kings Point South Club and Main Club spread, which is very unusual, about 40% for both. And if you recall, we did close in-house dining in February at Palm Court, which is why you'll see those numbers different in the next meeting, because the South Club gets the lion's share of the visits. Here's fitness usage for February. You can see over 5,200 visits, water class and land class usage. I won't read all those numbers to you, but we still had a very healthy fitness program going on in February. In the spa, we had over 354 clients with 543 services performed, and the sales for services and merchandise over 17,000. 11% drop over the prior month. We always have a big month for December, and then there's a lot of gift cards going out there at Christmas, so January is a busy month, and then it drops down. In our food and beverage, as we mentioned, dine-in service, we served over 3,500 patrons in February, and you can see that as a 42% decrease in the sales because of the in-house dining closed down. Portico Pickup remained very static there with their sales, and then you can see the pool deck sales, however, increased a whopping 756% because of that in-house dining. Oops, what's that going on there? All right, let me get this. And then overall, 4,800 patrons served, and just shy of $60,000 for the month of February. You'll see those numbers probably climb for March, much busier month. Wow, why does that keep doing that? Let's try this one. All right, so as we mentioned, the South Club Palm Court reopened on March 12th. Trivial will return Wednesdays and Saturdays beginning April 7th. Participation is capped at 50, and you have to social distance with the safety protocols in place. The same for karaoke, which returns on April 8th. Here's the hours of operation. You can find those on the website and in the pointer. Mondays will remain closed down there, and we won't return to full breakfast menus at the current time until a future date when we feel those are be a little bit more well attended. Projects, I'll just go ahead and, there's a lot of this going on here. The surveillance camera enhancement projects have begun, the theater sound system. This sound system in here is the original sound system from, I don't know, 180 years ago, I think. But this is all getting replaced. The moisture intrusion testing for Main Club, South Club in 2020 have been completed. If you've ever dealt with moisture intrusion, water travels, it's a bear to figure out where it's coming from, and the resulting damage is sometimes far away from the source. So Victoria's working with a mechanical engineer to review the report, figure out some solutions there. Locker room project, we were so excited to open it this week. However, upon inspection, there was a faulty temperature reader in the sauna. That won't work, so they had to order that part, and we're hoping next week, but they look beautiful. South Club Fitness Center HVAC is in progress, and you've probably been down to the South Club and seen their pressure washing, preparing to paint that building. South Club Pool Deck Expansion Project, this was a special project approved by the board. We're out getting ready to kick that off. We had 6 architecture firms bid on that. Sharp was selected, and then 5 surveyors, with Compass being selected. So that project you'll see in the next month and ongoing throughout likely the summer months. Upcoming events, Matt would like us to let you know that the Concert for a Cause is coming on March 31st. There are 2 shows. I believe they're both full, Matt, is that correct? So they're already booked up. Folks are excited. The concert is free, but they are accepting donations and for the Sun City Center Emergency Squad. And as a reminder, even though you have received your vaccination, masks are still required in the clubhouses until further notice. Here's some transportation numbers for you. Ridership is up. People are feeling more comfortable getting out and about. And here's gate security. You can see here over 13,400 passes issued at the gate. Oops, sorry, a little too quick there. Wow, Jim, easy on the cursor. All right, and 2,600 patrol miles driven throughout the month of February. Just notables, while on patrol, a security officer found some oxygen equipment at the corner of Kings and Kings. Somebody had left that there, so they found the company, hopefully can get that equipment back to the patient who needs that. And then in golf cart data during the month of February, we had over 3,000 cart swipes, averaging 108. That number's actually down quite a bit because we had 2 incidents of knocking the gate arm down by folks piggybacking. Bear with me, Jack, I got one more thing here. So typically at the end of the year I offer data, but since this is your first membership meeting, I thought I'd offer just something a little different, just a quick minute here. Hard to believe a year ago on March 13th we had to close the facilities. I know you all are shaking your heads, how could that already have been a year? But I wanted to give you a snapshot of the trust activities in that time period, where sometimes we're asked, well, what have you been doing? We've been doing a lot. We hosted 170,000 visits to the clubhouse, and that was in 8 months because we only began counting in July. We served over 10,500 orders in a new Portico pickup program, which was designed to be an online ordering portal and food delivery system we'd never had before, and it's not going away because it's so popular with you all out there. In community assistance, with the help of the generosity of all of you, our team fed over 600 healthcare workers, partnered early on and coordinated the distribution of thousands of masks. We filled 2 entire buses of non-perishable foods and took them to the local food banks, raised over $2,500 for local charities, sent over 175 e-blasts to 1,600 people that were read over 400,000 times. We hosted the vaccine program, of course, that inoculated 4,200 seniors. And in the maintenance, we continued to treat over 500,000 gallons of water, significant work at all the pools and within the clubhouses, including parking lot repaving, bocce ball, tennis courts, gazebo refurbishment, and the list goes on. In the spa, we served 1,100 patrons with 6,200 services, offered 45,000 fitness visits. At gate security, they issued over 132,000 passes, fielded 110,000 phone calls, and responded to 374 incidents that you all called and needed help with. Finally, our transportation team drove 25,000 miles, carrying 17,000 residents to places they needed to get to. The moral of the story is this: while these figures sound impressive, they pale in comparison to all other years' data. But it was, regardless, an extraordinary year. And yes, a stressful year for all of us, staff and residents combined. We're thankful to the Federation and to the community for allowing Vesta to do our part to help the residents who needed us in some form or fashion. We appreciate all your patience and we understand your impatience. So we've looked back and now we pick ourselves up and we're moving forward and trying to create the new normal in Kings Point. Slowly, methodically, our team is digging its way out of COVID just as methodically as we hunker down. And you will see communications coming out about all the upcoming events that are starting in the community, sneak previews of movies coming back, expos, the Queen's Luncheons, the series shows, theater groups. We're going to be, we have spoken to the Federation Board. We have promised to provide them a proposal and a timeline. And as we travel the road back to Wellville. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger, and I will tell you it's been a pleasure working with you, and we have some real good conversations such as we did yesterday on how to open Kings Point up and allow the residents to return to normalcy. And I'm glad you mentioned it, that within the coming weeks there will be additional openings and additional things that we'll be able to do for the residents of Kings Point and get more back to normalcy. I did read this morning that the governor is opening 40 and above on Monday, and the following week he's going to open it up for everybody 16 and over. So hopefully within the next couple of months we're going to be in a lot better position than we are today. We did basically presume that, and Matt is the one who did the figures, that approximately when we were doing 65 and over, that 40% of the residents of Kings Point had received their vaccination. So we are well on our way to basically getting the community prepared to open up more things, and probably by mid-May we should be seeing probably a good portion of the community vaccinated for those who care to be vaccinated. So that is the really good part about the whole thing, and I want to thank Vesta for all the work they have done during COVID of keeping the community updated, and also the work they did on the vaccination pod that was put here. Many, many thanks to you from the residents of the community. In fact, I was going to stop in your office this morning, Matt, and ask you to bring the award that the residents gave you just so they could see it actually in person. So I appreciate it. I spoke to Alan, and because it's basically the ending of the year, he doesn't have the treasurer's report because he couldn't complete it before we completed the year. So he will be giving it most likely during the April or May meeting, and it'll probably be most likely the final meeting, which will be the May meeting, is when he will be doing it. So thank you, Alan. I know you folks have probably got tired of hearing me talk, so when it comes to the president's report, I'm just going to kind of make this very brief. Rick, would you mind coming to the front of the room, please? Dave, would you mind coming to the front of the room? Tom, I'm gonna ask you, because I know Noreen isn't here, if you would join these two gentlemen up here. There are things that we can do and not let all the board know that we're doing it. This is thanks to the work of Ma Bell. These are certificates of appreciation. And what it reads, and I'm going to read Noreen's, but they all read the same except the name is different. And it says, in recognition and appreciation to your dedicated service as a director of the Federation, for the Federation Association members, your tireless work and effort have been a great benefit to the residents of Kings Point. And there's yours, Rick. And there's yours, Dave. And I personally want to thank you for all your support and help. And I know Ma Bell wants to take a picture of the three of you.
I just want to say, Noreen, you're not looking so good.
Try and get together so they can take pictures. Between Ma Bell and I think Janice, I gave her a little privy to it. No one knew we were going to do that. And I know that Rick has to leave before 11:30, and I wanted to be able to express the appreciation of the board and the community for all the time and effort you put in. Serving on the board is not an easy thing. It takes a lot of time and effort, and I appreciate all the work that has been done on it. Therefore, we'll move on to new business. The first item on the new business, and I'm getting older and cannot read. Now I can see again. The first item on the new business is the Federation membership meeting calendar. It was all sent to you. I'd have a motion to approve the meeting calendar. Fine, second. What I would suggest, so we don't have to go through roll call, and I checked with Webb to make sure that we were appropriately doing it, we will consider it passed unless there is an objection. And without hearing an objection, we will consider that to be the schedule for the next year. Is there any objection to accepting it? Hearing no objection, the membership meeting calendar is approved. The election, unfortunately, there was really no competition for any of the positions, so the three directors which I just mentioned and gave them their certificate of appreciation, which is Dave, Rick, and Noreen, are leaving the board. The new directors joining the current board will be Barb Sarve, which is sitting over the end. Barb, just stand up so they all know. Tom Ricketts. Oh, by the way, Barb is representing District 6. Then there is Tom Ricketts, who will be representing District 3. He will be replacing Noreen. Let's keep it in the household. And I believe sitting out in the audience is Liz. Where are you, Liz? Liz, would you mind standing up, and welcome back to the board. In addition, Dan Hector will be serving a second term on the board. So congratulations, Dan. And finally, and God knows why, I will be also taking a second term on the board That will be with the existing board members, the new board next year, and the existing board members are Alan Hahn, Janice Kincaid, and Ryan Setzer, who was on the phone, just so you people know he is there, he's on the phone. There will be a vacant position, which is District 2, and as soon as the new board organizes after this meeting, we will set up the procedures to have an election conducted to fill District 2, which is Rick's district, correct, Rick?
Yes.
So the new board will handle that post haste to get that position filled. And in fact, I think some conversations from some possible candidates have already been held. So congratulations to you all. We look forward to working together next year. That will take us to the approval of the one-year Down to Earth contract landscaping for Section 2. And Dave, interest of time, as we're already at 11:15, I will turn it over to you. These will be voted on separately, one for Section 2 and one for Section 4, but if you want to do both of an overview of both the contracts, I would appreciate it.
Okay, I'm just going to do a brief introduction to save time, but back in 2018, we had contractors approved for landscape. Yellowstone and Juniper during the year decided that they underbid the project and wanted to come back, ask for $500,000 or more to continue with the contracts. Unfortunately, they had a way out of the contract, which was the with or without clause in Section 3.9. We modified that when the Russell contract came up so that we eliminated that portion where they could arbitrarily decide to leave on their own. The two contracts that we have here were presented to the Federation Board by the Landscape Committee, and the part of the request was to get that language out of Section 3.9. So that has been removed from the contract, and we actually put in words that are to our advantage. It's 120 days, and if the contractor wants to leave, they actually have to arbitrate with us ahead of time. Some other changes that we went through was the too wet, too dry concept, and we asked that we get specific with the landscapers as to what is the definition of wet, what's the definition of dry, and we included specific language in the contract to clarify that. Other measures that were changed is, and sometimes the small changes are the ones that are important, but in one section we had that the contractor had to clean the debris after cleaning your house or cutting your lawn within the same day. Okay, now, we had a lot of complaints on that, and we changed that to say immediately after cutting. And a small change like that is big for everybody in the community because it helps get the debris out of there, and hopefully people won't trip over it or other things, but there's a lot of changes there. So that's where we are now with it. We've made some modifications to it, but what we want is looking towards the future here. We're going to have all 4 contracts come due at the same time at the end of next year. Over the course of the next year, the Landscape Committee is going to work with the community. We're going to modify these contracts to bring them up to date. And it's easier to do it for all 4 at one time, but we're looking forward to a year that we review this as a community and revise these contracts and present something to the community that represents as well. That's all I have, Jack. Jack?
Okay. Yep.
Then with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the contract with Down to Earth for Section 2. Thank you, Jill. Thank you for the second. Mabel, I'll give you the mic and let you do the roll call vote on Section 2.
I have a statement on that before we go forward. You don't mind? I think that's discussion, is it not?
Go ahead.
My apologies for this, but I was up till about 10 o'clock last night writing this. I didn't become aware of it until just recently. I have looked at the contract, and until yesterday, I was unaware of the way the language was in the contract read. On Wednesday, my board walked through the subdivision to observe and make an assessment of our community. The troubling part in the contract is under the responsibility of the contractor in wet-dry areas. The contractor does random moisture tests in the soil. If multiples are taken, that they are averaged and given to the master association. If 2 tests are done, one is a 10, which means it's too wet, and another is 0, the average is 5, and therefore no change would be necessary. Should put spacing in here. Contractors should have to declare where the tests are taken and what corrective action needs to be taken, whether add or subtract from the run times in that zone. This appears to me is everyone has an excuse to why it's not their problem, and then the associations end up with it and having to replace the grass that's not under warranty. I have no issue with Down to Earth, but believe we have an obligation and a responsibility to provide a contract with expectations, obtainable standards, and to serve all parties. Assumptions are the mother of all screw-ups. I would recommend the conditional approval of Down to Earth, as this is not their fault, with a change order with a modification to 3.6 in wet-dry areas to ensure a clear understanding of procedures. Thank you.
Just to make a clear comment on that. We have instructed the landscapers to specifically identify the area that the moisture meter, the reading was taken. So we're identifying the actual address in the multiple locations, so there shouldn't be an average taken, because that is confusing. But it's going to be address specific, meter specific, and a photo of the actual reading. So it'll be fairly clear on what areas exactly are too wet or too dry.
Acadia,
Yes, by proxy?
Acadia 2,
We do.
No.
this is section 2. Just to clarify, this is Down to Earth contract for section 2. Again, Acadia.
No.
Oh, Acadia first, sir.
No, we did that. Yes by proxy.
Okay.
Acadia 2.
Acadia 2.
No.
Thank you. Thank you. Andover C.
Yes.
Andover D.
Yes.
Andover F. It's by proxy. Remember, it's by proxy. Sir, sorry, we'll. Oh, yes. Andover I.
Yes by proxy.
Bedford A.
Yes by proxy.
Bedford C.
Yes by proxy.
Bedford D. Bedford E. I think he left. Bedford F.
Yes by proxy.
Bedford H.
Yes by proxy.
Brookfield. Brookfield.
This is section 2.
But you're voting, everybody votes. I'm section 4, but everybody's voting?
Everybody votes.
Oh, yes.
You said yes?
Yes.
Who is that?
Cambridge A.
Yes, by proxy.
Cambridge B. Cambridge C.
Yes, by proxy.
Cambridge E.
Yes, by proxy.
Cambridge J.
Yes.
Cambridge K.
Yes, by proxy.
Cambridge L.
Yes, by proxy.
Cambridge M.
Yes, by proxy.
Canton Court D.
Yes, by proxy.
Corinth.
Yes.
Devonshire.
Yes, by proxy.
Dorchester A.
Yes.
Dorchester B.
Yes, by proxy.
Dorchester C.
Yes.
Dorchester D.
They left?
Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Fairborn. Fairborn.
Yes.
Fairfield C. Oh, dear. Fairfield A, sorry, Fairfield A.
Yes, by proxy.
Fairfield C.
Yes, by proxy.
Fairfield D.
Yes, by proxy.
Fairfield E.
Yes, by proxy.
Fairfield H.
Yes, by proxy.
Gloucester A.
Yes, by proxy.
Gloucester B.
Yes, by proxy.
Gloucester D.
Yes, by proxy.
Gloucester E.
Yes, by proxy.
Gloucester J. Gloucester K.
Yes, by proxy.
Gloucester L.
Yes, by proxy.
Gloucester M.
Yes, by proxy.
Gloucester N.
Yes, by proxy.
Gloucester P.
Yes.
Gloucester P.
Sorry.
Grantham.
Yes.
Highgate A.
Yes, by proxy.
Highgate B.
Yes.
Highgate C.
Yes.
Highgate E.
Yes.
Highgate F.
Yes, by proxy.
Highgate 3.
Yes, by proxy.
Highgate 4.
Yes, by proxy.
Huntington.
Yes, by proxy.
Idlewood.
Yes, by proxy.
Inverness.
Yes, by proxy.
Jameson. Kensington.
Yes.
Knowles 3.
Yes, by proxy.
Lancaster 1.
Yes.
Lancaster 2.
Yes.
Lancaster 3.
Yes.
Lyndhurst.
Yes.
Manchester 1.
Yes, by proxy.
Manchester 2. Yes. Sorry, Miss Wilson, I can't see you. I know, sorry. Manchester 4.
Guess they left.
Left, okay. Maplewood.
Yes, by proxy.
Nantucket 1.
People left?
Nope. It's upstairs.
Because they didn't fill it in.
Nantucket 2.
Yes.
Nantucket 3.
Yes, by proxy.
Nantucket 4. Nantucket 5.
No, by proxy.
Oakley Green? Yes. You said yes? Sorry, I didn't hear it. Oakley Green?
Yes.
Oxford 1? Oxford 1? Oxford 2?
Yes.
Portsmouth?
Yes.
Princeton?
Yes.
Radisson 1?
Yes by proxy.
Radisson 2?
Yes by proxy.
Richmond?
Yes by proxy.
Somerset?
Yes by proxy.
Southampton 1?
Yes by proxy.
Southampton 2?
Yes.
Tremont 1?
Yes by proxy.
Tremont 2?
Yes by proxy.
Villeroy?
Yes by proxy.
Worlington?
Yes by proxy.
Yorkshire?
Yes by proxy.
Mr. President, you have a yes of 4,184 with 97.1%, with 81 association, with a no votes of 123, with 2.9%, with 2 association. Yes. The 2 are Acadia 2 and Nantucket 5. No, Acadia 2 is here. I think Nantucket, yes, Nantucket 5 is by proxy.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I wondered if it would be proper. My name is Steve Honor and I represent Fairborn, which is in the district now being voted on. Without objection, could we just make this a unanimous vote to approve Down to Earth? Is that legal?
Because the vote has been taken for Down to Earth 2, the vote is taken. However, people did vote by proxy for Down to Earth 4. Unless there is any changes in the vote, instead of doing the recall, we can ask if there are any vote changes for Section 4. If there are no vote changes, we have both Section 4 would be approved, and I can ask the membership if anybody would like to change their vote on Section 2. When we look at Section 4, if no one wants to take it, then we can consider it also passed
Fine.
with
So
their
moved.
same vote. Is there anybody, can I have a motion to approve Section 4? So moved, so seconded. Is there anyone who would like to change their vote that they voted for Section 2? And what association do you represent?
Acadia 2.
You want to change it to a yes?
Only Acadia 2.
So we won't have to vote, seeing no one wants to change their vote from Section 2. Therefore, the Section 4 contract with Down to Earth has been approved, and basically the vote, you will correct it, Mabel, to just show, 57 votes or something to no, as with the proxy for Nantucket. It was,
For Nantucket 5, they voted no through proxy. So
Yeah.
I'll fix it, and I know for sure we pass on District 2, Section 2, so we have.
yeah, so, but you put in the correct vote totals for Section 4. Thank you, and I know Dave thanks you. I know the Landscape Committee, who has done a really difficult job in working to get these 2 contracts done, and now the Landscape Committee and Keith have a real challenge with them to do all 4 contracts for next year. So we'll be going through this next year at this time. That takes us to Good and Welfare. If anybody has any Good and Welfare announcements that they would like to make, they would step up to the mic. Jill, if you want to immediately after we adjourn this meeting, Webb would be glad to speak to you and give his opinion to you on those title ownerships for your association. and I don't think he'll charge you for it. So if you'd like to speak to him, we do have an organizational meeting, but because you asked the question, he would be glad to give you his legal opinion on it.
I'm Jim Gundry. Can you hear me?
No.
A little closer.
It's on now.
You gotta get closer.
I'm Jim Gundry. I'm president of Gloucester D. This is just an informational point. We keep hearing talk of the master looking at opening up an entrance of 674 at the end of Gloucester. Nobody seems to know anything, and I'm just asking if there's any information anybody knows here, and if not, if you could share it, because it's going to majorly affect the people of those of us who live along Gloucester.
The Federation knows nothing of it. I don't know if there's anyone here that could represent the master and speak to that, but I don't know how they would open that entrance up.
I'm sure there's a lot of things, but we keep hearing things.
There's a lot of rumors that run through Kings Point community, but we haven't heard of anything, and Vesta hasn't mentioned anything, and that entrance there is locked, and First Service, you have heard of nothing to opening up that entrance. The only thing I could suggest you do is send a letter to the master and ask them if they... No, I appreciate you asking that question.
Okay, I just wanted information.
Any other announcements for good and welfare? Then I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting. So moved. Any objection? The meeting is adjourned. The meeting is immediately preceded. Many members are allowed to attend the organization of the board at this meeting.